Okay, so the one of the things I'm going to say over and over again in this class, it's like one of my big points about sort of art in general, is that art is a type of thinking. When you think, you may just think thoughts in your head. Your teachers try to get you to use essays to think. They want you to do your thinking when you're working on your essays. So that when you have ideas, maybe you just think them in your mind, you say them out loud. Your teachers want you to do your thinking in the form of an essay, right? That's why they give you a topic to think about, and your essay is supposed to be your thoughts on that topic. And I know you don't want to do it, but that's what they're doing. But movies are a kind of thinking. Making a painting is a kind of thinking. Playing music is a type of thinking. And then essentially these things are doing philosophy or doing thinking in movie form. And I'm going to talk a lot this semester about how these movies are essentially just the way you would write an essay. You have arguments and counter arguments. You have a main point, and then you say some people might disagree with me. Here's what they would say. All of these things, um, it's a type of thinking that's happening in movies. And while an essay might put it in paragraphs, a movie might have one character say something and another character say something else. Um, and those are ideas that they are debating and discussing. And then they fight over the ideas to see, I don't know. So the filmmaker, whatever, you can have the guy that he likes wins or whatever. Um, 2001 is a form of thinking. So it's worth considering what is it thinking about? Um, Obviously, I've talked about the idea of evolution and kind of these big cosmic questions about where did we come from, and is there extraterrestrial life, and these kinds of big issues. But one of the, and it certainly is thinking about those things, about aliens, about evolution, about the robots becoming more human than human, from artificial intelligence kind of stuff. Um, but it's also worth saying that it's thinking, a lot of it has to do with violence. The most interesting comment I've heard someone make about the movie 2001 was from a screenwriter that I like named Todd Alcott. And Todd Alcott said something real strange, and it got my attention. It's one of the strangest things. He said, he said, you ever see those movies where there's like a inner city school where the kids are all in gangs and they're murdering each other or whatever, they're dangerous, and and then there's like a teacher who has to come into that situation and like educate them, and he's trying to teach them about poetry or something, like those movies where, it's usually a movie that's got some kind of like white lady who comes into like, an inner city school filled with black kids and teaches them that, poetry is just another form of rap or whatever. And the kids get into it and they're learning and they like it, but then there's still the world of the streets and their gang violence and stuff. And then eventually, usually one of the kids gets shot and everybody's sad about it. And, what difference does poetry make when my friend got killed by the gang? I mean, it's a type of movie. They make it over and over and over and over again. I'm sure you've seen some of them. He said that, Ty Alcott said that 2001 is a movie like that. I was like, really? How is it a movie like that? He said, it's a movie about aliens who are trying to evolve humans. But the question is, are the humans so violent and territorial that before they're able to evolve, they're going to fucking kill each other? That's interesting. That's interesting. That's a question that the movie is thinking about. You, it's also worth pointing out that this movie was made in 1968. Russia and America, and the nuclear bomb is sort of used for the first time in 1945. It was just the 75th anniversary, just like a month ago. And that the idea that we had weapons that could destroy all life on Earth was really in the 60s, making people be like, oh shit, like, are we all going to kill ourselves? Like, what is the point of all of this? This is so dangerous. And America's building the weapons and Russia's building the weapons, and they're sort of, stressing everybody out. Because if one country fires a nuke, then the other country's going to fire a nuke, and it's going to be nukes back and forth, and there's going to be nobody left alive. Um, so, oh shit! I just looked down at my notes and saw something that I forgot. Can I jump back and tell you something old? One of my favorite little details in the movie is that if you're wondering if Floyd is an important person, nobody says he's an important person, but please notice he's the only person on the spaceship. If you get an airplane all to yourself, you must be pretty fucking important. So anyways, I looked down at my notes and it's like, oh shit, I forgot to tell them that. So this is a movie about violence. And the interesting thing that it does is it's not just about violence in one particular time or place. It's about violence everywhere at all times. Well, how do you know that? Because the monkeys they evolve. They're suddenly like stone tools. And what's the first thing they do? They use the weapons to kill each other, fighting over a little pool of water. right? The monkeys that have the weapons are able to beat the shit out of the monkeys that do not have the weapon and get the pool of water. But then we jump, and it's like, oh, this new world of space is so different. Is it? Because that spaceship is really just a tool like the bone. It's just a fancy tool that human beings. A bone is a simple tool, and a spaceship is a fancy tool. They're both tools, not that different. But also territory. There's a whole conversation. It's an International Space Station, and Floyd meets with some Russians and some other people, and they have a conversation, but they're worried about, like, oh, this is great. There's clearly tension between the countries. Could start an international incident. So Russia and America building up nuclear weapons and fighting with each other is really just the monkeys at the pool again, trying to kill each other over resources, right? Fundamentally, all human conflict, can you trace it back to it's too hot and there's not enough water, or whatever, the Middle East or something where water is scarce. So the countries are sort of, the question is, the human beings going to blow each other up before they get to, the aliens are able to really evolve them into something else. You see this at several different points. So, like, on television, I think it's on the airplane, there's like a little television screen playing. It's playing wrestling, which is a sport not unlike what the apes are doing, right? It's two humans or monkeys or whatever fighting with each other and grappling with each other and wrestling. It's battle. Later on in the movie, Hal and Poole play chess. Again, what is that? It's about territory. It's about war. It's a little metaphor for war. Can my little king and queen and soldiers get all your king and queen and soldiers, and we're fighting over this little space in the middle of the board? Can we win? It over and over and over again, this question of battling it out for territory, which all starts to seem pretty stupid when you see how fucking big space is and how much we don't know about what the fuck is out there. And one of the most interesting ways in which it does this. Sorry, I've got these notes I'm trying to figure out. One of the most interesting ways that it does this is the names of the astronauts when they get to the Jupiter mission. Hunter, Poole, and Bowman. Hunter is one of the guys in the sleeping in the hibernation thing, so you don't see him. But there's a guy named Hunter, and then the two guys that we know are called Bowman and Poole. Well, Poole, like the pool of water the monkeys were fighting over, and Bowman. The bow and arrow is one of the very first, it's an early, not first, but it's an early weapon that hunters used. So just the fact that and hunters, of course, is what the monkeys are hunting for food. Please notice, by the way, those monkeys lived in peace with the pig-like animals, the boars or whatever, and then they got those clubs, and then they started beating the shit out of them and eating meat, right? That the evolution involved violence, not just violent monkey against monkey violence, but also violence against the natural world. So it's interesting that the Hunter, Bowman, and Poole suggest a link, that essentially these are just fancy monkeys in space, but they're still dealing with fighting and violence and killing and murder. What's the first thing Hal does when he starts to evolve? He's like, I gotta kill these fuckers. He wants to get rid of them. He's on a mission, and he doesn't want them there. He's fighting over it. The first thing he does is, I think this satellite thing went wrong. You better go out and bring it in. And they do, and they're like, there's nothing wrong with it. Well, that's their fucking communications. So it's going to be kind of hard to communicate with Hal once they pull. They can't cry for help, although who could get to them billions of miles away? But the point is, they can't tell anybody what's going on. So the first thing Hal has them do is take out that communication satellite. And then when they go to put it back, he kills one of them so that they can't report back. Communications are down. And then it's Hal versus Dave Bowman. And it's, again, they're fighting over territory. And the territory's huge. They're going to Jupiter, billions of miles away. But it suggests these kinds of big, big things. Cool. All right, cool. I'm doing good. I think I hit almost everything I wanted to talk about. Yep. Okay. Yep, I got it. Okay. And then Floyd links up to explain what's going on, right? You get the tape of Floyd at the end where he says, listen, the thing on the moon was... I think I'm gonna need one more video. All right, I'm gonna do one more short video and then we're gonna be done. Thanks for getting this far.